Ladies and gentlemen, champions in the making, listen up. Success is not a mystery. It's not a roll of the dice or a prize for the chosen few. Success is a decision backed by daily disciplines that shape your destiny. You're not here by accident. You're here because there's a voice inside of you that knows you're meant for more. You see, life doesn't give you what you want. It gives you what you're willing to work for, believe for, and become. And today, I'm going to give you 6 habits that will pull success to you like a magnet. Master these, and you won't have to chase success. It will chase you. Every day, we are surrounded by noise, doubt, fear, negativity, scarcity. But in the midst of all that noise, there is one voice that matters more than any other in your own. The words you speak to yourself carry more weight than the opinions of others, the circumstances you're facing, or even your past experiences. What you say consistently becomes what you believe. And what you believe shapes what you become. Most people sabotage their future because they keep rehearsing failure with their mouth. They speak defeat and wonder why success avoids them. Your mouth is not just for communication. It's for creation. Your words have the power to build or destroy. If you're constantly saying, I can't, I'm broke, nothing ever works for me, you're not just stating facts, you're writing your future in permanent ink. The subconscious mind doesn't filter sarcasm or self-deprecating jokes. It listens, accepts, and then begins to shape your behavior to match the script you've given it. The tragedy is that many people talk themselves out of greatness before they've even tried. Successful people talk differently. They don't deny reality, but they declare possibility in spite of it. When others say, this is impossible, they say, with the right strategy and belief, I will find a way. They affirm abundance even when their bank account disagrees. They speak health when their body aches. They declare growth when the numbers look stagnant. Why? Because they understand a simple truth. Your life moves in the direction of your dominant words. Speak like a victim and you'll live like one. Speak like a victor and your mind will begin building evidence to support that identity. There's a reason why people who constantly complain stay stuck. Complaining programs your brain to find more things to complain about. Gratitude and declaration, on the other hand, open the door to opportunities. When you start saying, I'm worthy of wealth, I'm built for impact, I attract favor and opportunities, your focus begins to shift. You stop seeing lack and start seeing leverage. You stop noticing problems and start spotting potential. It's not magic. It's mindset. This isn't just about positive thinking. It's about intentional self-programming. Every word is a seed. Some people are planting seeds of prosperity, confidence, and strength. Others are planting seeds of fear, doubt, and delay. And when harvest time comes, they're shocked by the results. But it was all rooted in what they repeatedly said. Your language is the software that runs your belief system. If you want to change your results, you need to change the internal script you're running. Think about the way you talk about money, relationships, health, and your purpose. Are you reinforcing lack or speaking vision? Are you rehearsing disappointment or declaring destiny? Many of us learned to talk small because it made others comfortable. But small talk builds small lives. You weren't called to shrink. You were called to shine as it helps. And that starts with what you say when no one's watching, those quiet conversations you have with yourself when the doubt creeps in. Your words are like a compass. They guide your thoughts, your emotions, and ultimately your actions. If you say you're tired, you feel tired. If you say you're overwhelmed, you act overwhelmed. But if you say, I've got energy, I'm focused, I'm a problem solver. Your body and brain rise to match that level. The truth is, you don't need better circumstances. You need better declarations. People don't rise to the level of their hustle. They rise to the level of their belief, and belief is formed by repetition. So ask yourself, what have you been declaring lately? Have your words been lifting you or limiting you? Because the fastest way to change your life is not by trying to control everything around you. It's by mastering the conversation within you. Too many people wait. They wait for the right time, the perfect plan, the ideal opportunity, the stars to align. They wait for a sign that everything will work out before they take the first step. But waiting is the silent killer of dreams. While you're planning, someone else is doing. While you're doubting, someone else is building. Perfection is a seductive illusion. It looks like wisdom, but it's actually fear in disguise. It convinces you that the best thing to do is nothing until everything is flawless. But success doesn't respond to hesitation. It responds to movement. Massive, imperfect action always outperforms polished procrastination. Think about the people you admire. Not one of them got where they are because they had it all figured out before they started. They moved forward without certainty. They made bold decisions in the face of risk. They acted before they had all the answers. And because of that, life began to open up. Doors appeared that they never saw before because action unlocked new levels of clarity. You can't strategize your way into greatness. You have to walk into it step by step. When you act, even if it's messy, you gather feedback, you gain momentum, you build confidence. But when you sit on the sidelines, overthinking every possible scenario, you don't just stay still, you lose ground. Your mind becomes a battlefield of what ifs and worst case outcomes. Fear multiplies in stillness, but courage is built in the doing. Every imperfect attempt is proof that you're showing up, that you're serious, that you're becoming the kind of person who doesn't just dream, they deliver. You'll never feel fully ready. You'll never feel fully qualified, and that's okay. Most people who do big things start small and scared, but they don't let fear drive the car. They feel the fear, acknowledge it, and move anyway. Action does something powerful. It reprograms your nervous system. It trains your body and mind to believe that progress is possible. Every time you take a step, no matter how small, your brain begins to accept a new identity, the identity of someone who moves, someone who builds, someone who doesn't sit on the bench waiting for someone else's permission. There's a deceptive comfort in preparation. Planning feels productive. Research feels safe. Brainstorming gives the illusion of momentum. But none of those things move the needle without execution. Ideas are cheap. Execution is everything. You can be the smartest person in the room and still lose to someone who simply acts more often. Because life rewards those who are in the game, not those who are sitting in the stands with a clipboard. The real breakthroughs come when you take the leap, not when you keep measuring the cliff. You don't need to have the final version to get started. You need a first version. That ugly, raw, vulnerable first attempt that gets you out of your comfort zone and into the arena. That first video you're nervous to post. That first product you're scared to launch. That first pitch you stutter through. None of it has to be perfect, but all of it is necessary. Because you can't refine what you haven't released. You can't grow what you're too scared to begin. The greatest transformations happen after the first imperfect step. There's a myth that people who succeed had some special access, some elite preparation, some rare gift. The truth is simpler. They just moved faster. They said yes before they had the map. They trusted their gut over their fear. They stumbled, they fell, they adjusted, but they kept going. They didn't need the conditions to be right because they made themselves ready by doing the work. Success is not a personality trait, it's a behavior. And that behavior starts with a decision to act over and over again until the gap between who you are and who you want to be disappears. You'll never outthink an action. You can analyze forever and still end up in the same place you started, frustrated, unfulfilled, and full of untapped potential. The only way to break that cycle is to do the very thing you've been avoiding. Move, speak, build, offer, risk. Not recklessly, but relentlessly. Success respects urgency, not perfection. The world doesn't need another person waiting to be ready. It needs people who move before they feel qualified and grow through every imperfect step they take. The people you allow into your environment are not neutral. They either feed your fire or suffocate it. They either pull you forward or drag you down. The truth most people avoid is this: your circle is either your ceiling or your catalyst. If you surround yourself with people who complain, who settle, who shrink from challenge, you will eventually begin to lower your own standards to match theirs. Not because you're weak, but because you're human. Proximity is power. Energy is contagious. If you're constantly around people who tolerate mediocrity, excellence will start to feel like overkill. Some people in your life are not bad people, but they're bad for your growth. They may mean well, they may love you, but their mindset is built on fear, lack, and limitation. If you're dreaming of abundance and progress, but you're surrounded by those who only see problems and scarcity, you're living in an environment that's at war with your destiny. You can't keep trying to evolve in a space that refuses to grow. Staying loyal to a stagnant circle will cost you your momentum, your belief, and eventually your vision. Winners are intentional about their surroundings. They don't just protect their time. They guard their energy. They choose to associate with people who push them, stretch them, and challenge them to rise higher. They seek out environments where growth is the norm, not the exception. They understand that being the smartest person in the room might feel good for the ego, but it's a death sentence for their progress. If you want to expand, you have to be willing to get uncomfortable. You have to walk into rooms where you're not the expert, but the student. Your environment includes more than people. It includes conversations, habits, and even the content you consume. What are you listening to? What are you watching? What are you scrolling through daily? These things shape your internal climate. If you're feeding your mind with negativity, gossip, or distraction, don't be surprised when you're operating below your potential. You can't plant seeds of excellence in soil poisoned by toxicity and expect a harvest of greatness. The mental atmosphere you live in every day determines how boldly you show up in the world. Sometimes elevation requires separation. Not out of arrogance, but out of alignment. You're not leaving people behind. You're moving toward what you're called to become. And anyone truly committed to their own growth will understand. The people who get offended when you decide to level up were only comfortable when you stayed small. Growth exposes the insecurities of those who are standing still. But you cannot shrink just to make others feel safe. You owe it to your calling to evolve, even if it means outgrowing the places you used to feel at home. Transformation begins with a decision to stop negotiating your future to maintain your past. When you finally accept that your destiny is bigger than your history, you'll stop apologizing for your ambition. You'll stop explaining your hunger to people who are satisfied with surviving. Your future requires you to walk with people who speak the language of elevation, people who are obsessed with impact, integrity, and improvement. When you change your environment, you change your energy. And when your energy changes, your execution follows. You are not just influenced by who you're around. You are being shaped by them. Their beliefs start to blend with yours. Their habits start to mirror in your routines. Their limitations start to sound like your logic. And before you know it, you're living a version of life that looks acceptable to everyone else, but completely unrecognizable to the greatness inside you. That's why you have to be ruthless about what and who you allow near your vision. Not everyone can go where you're going. And that's not judgment, that's stewardship. Choosing the right environment is not about elitism, it's about alignment. You need voices around you that remind you of your potential, not just your past. You need people who celebrate your evolution, not resent it. You need to be in rooms where excellence is expected, not applauded as rare. Because those rooms don't just inspire you, they elevate you. They activate the part of you that's been sleeping under the weight of low expectations. When you change your environment, you change what feels normal. And when greatness becomes your new normal, nothing can hold you back. Selling is not about convincing people to buy something they don't need. It's about connecting people to a solution they've been silently craving. When you understand the transformation your product or service can create, selling stops feeling like manipulation and starts becoming a mission. Purpose-driven selling is rooted in belief. If you don't believe in what you offer, that uncertainty seeps into your words, your posture, your energy. But when you're deeply convicted that what you're providing can change lives, then making an offer is not pressure, it's responsibility. So many people shy away from selling because they've been taught to see it as pushy or aggressive. But the truth is, the most effective salespeople are not slick talkers. They're authentic problem solvers. They listen more than they speak. They understand before they pitch. They ask questions that expose pain and point to possibility. Because purpose-driven sales is not about saying the right words. It's about carrying the right intention. It's about showing up to serve, not just to close. And when your intention is pure, the results follow. People don't buy when they understand your product. They buy when they feel understood by you. That connection is what builds trust, and trust is the bridge to transformation. Your job is not to sell features or specs. Your job is to paint a picture of a better future, one that becomes real when the person says yes to what you're offering. If you truly believe that what you offer solves a problem, makes life better, or accelerates a dream, then it becomes an act of service, not to hold back. The longer you hesitate, the longer people stay stuck in their pain. Purpose is what separates pressure from passion. Pressure is self-centered. It's focused on your quota, your results, your fear of rejection. Passion is client-centered. It's about their breakthrough, their results, their growth. That's why the most successful people in sales don't chase customers. They attract them. They lead with value. They educate. They inspire. They give so much clarity and confidence that saying yes becomes the natural next step. They're not trying to take, they're committed to giving. And that giving builds trust. Rejection in sales only hurts when you're focused on yourself. But when your focus is on serving, every no becomes data, not defeat. It's not a reflection of your worth, it's just feedback about readiness or fit. That mindset shift is crucial because too many people tie their identity to the outcome of a sale, which makes every interaction feel like life or death. When you're anchored in purpose, you stop taking things personally. You show up fully, you present confidently, and you detach from the outcome because you know what you offer is valuable, regardless of who sees it today. Selling is not just about transferring knowledge. It's about transferring certainty. People don't buy what you sell, they buy how you believe. If you're hesitant, they'll hesitate. If you're unsure, they'll be unsure. But when you bring certainty into the room, when you speak with clarity, confidence, and conviction, it gives people permission to believe in themselves. Because that's what a great salesperson does. They hold belief for others until they can hold it for themselves. They don't just offer solutions. They activate decisions. The problem is that many people undervalue offer because they haven't taken the time to truly see the impact it creates. They compare themselves to others. They play small, and they convince themselves that asking for money is asking for too much. But price is never the real objection. People invest in what they believe will help them reach what they desire. So instead of lowering your price, raise your value. Instead of playing small, stand firm in your mission, because when you lead with purpose, price becomes secondary to transformation. The world is not looking for more sales tactics. It's looking for people who sell with integrity, who believe in their mission, who lead with heart and deliver with excellence. People don't need more pressure. They need more clarity. They need more hope. They need someone to stand in front of them and say, I see where you are, and I know where you can be. And this offer will help you get there. Selling with purpose means understanding the weight of what's at stake if someone stays stuck, and being bold enough to lead them forward anyway. Freedom is not the absence of structure. It is the reward of consistent discipline. Most people chase freedom by avoiding rules, routines, and responsibility. They want the benefits of success without the process that produces it. But every breakthrough, every elevation, every extraordinary result is born from the ordinary habits that most people refuse to master. Discipline is not restriction. It is the ultimate form of self-respect. When you keep your word to yourself, when you follow through even when motivation disappears, you begin to build a life that others can't touch, because it's rooted in consistency, not convenience. There's a false narrative that freedom is about doing whatever you want, whenever you want. But that's not freedom. That's chaos. True freedom comes when you've trained yourself to do what needs to be done, whether you feel like it or not. It's waking up and executing the plan, not chasing your emotions. It's managing your time with intention instead of reacting to every distraction. Discipline sharpens your focus, protects your energy, and keeps your goals in sight even when everything around you is pulling for your attention. It's how high performers operate. Not because they're more talented, but because they're more trained. The average person waits to feel inspired. But winners don't need a feeling. They've built a standard. They don't ask, do I feel like doing it today? They ask, what's required of me today? That shift in mindset creates results that compound. One disciplined decision doesn't change your life, but 1,000 of them will. Over time, your life begins to reflect your discipline more than your dreams. You stop just setting goals. You become the kind of person who achieves them. Discipline is what turns potential into performance and intentions into impact. You don't need more time. You need better habits. Discipline creates margin. It gives you space to think, grow, create, and lead. When you manage your mornings with precision, your whole day shifts. When you stop negotiating with your excuses, you begin to build momentum. And that momentum becomes your new normal. Most people are one disciplined season away from a completely different life, but they keep choosing temporary comfort over long-term freedom. They keep hitting snooze on their own greatness, waiting for a perfect moment that never comes. Discipline is not glamorous. It's often quiet, invisible, and thankless. It looks like early mornings, focused evenings, hard decisions, and repeated effort. It looks like saying no when others say yes. It looks like showing up when you're tired, leaning in when you want to tap out, and staying consistent when the results are still invisible. But while the undisciplined are distracted by how things feel, the disciplined are building something that lasts. They're not just chasing success. They're becoming someone success can't ignore. The truth is, discipline is what builds trust with yourself. Every time you follow through on a commitment, you reinforce the belief that you are capable and reliable. You silence the inner critic that says you'll quit again. You shut down the story that says you're inconsistent. And over time, your identity shifts as it helps us. You stop seeing yourself as someone who hopes things will work out and start walking like someone who makes things work. That kind of confidence doesn't come from hype. It comes from habits. When you're disciplined, you become dangerous, not because you're perfect, but because you're predictable. You can be counted on. You don't need external motivation to get moving. You don't wait for validation to execute. You've built an internal engine that drives you. And that makes you unstoppable in a world full of people looking for shortcuts. While others are distracted by what's trending, you're locked in on what's timeless. Discipline isn't just your advantage, it's your edge. It's the silent power behind every visible success. Discipline is not something you find, it's something you forge. It's built in the dark, in the moments no one sees. When quitting feels easy and you choose to keep going anyway, the more you practice it, the more it becomes who you are. And eventually, what once felt hard becomes your baseline. You stop needing to push yourself because your standards pull you. That's when you experience a level of freedom most never reach. Not because everything gets easier, but because you've become stronger. Faith is not passive. It's not something you just think or feel. It's something you do. Real faith moves. It takes steps before the path is visible. It takes action before the outcome is certain. Faith doesn't wait for clarity to show up. It creates clarity through movement. You don't need to see the whole staircase to take the first step. You just need the belief that the next one will be there when you move. That's what separates those who watch life happen from those who shape it. Not more talent, not more knowledge, just more belief that something bigger is possible and the courage to act like it. Most people say they have faith, but their lives don't reflect it. Because faith without works is just wishful thinking. If you believe the vision is real, your actions have to align. You can't pray for growth and then stay in your comfort zone. You can't speak abundance and keep operating out of fear. You can't expect overflow while living like you don't deserve more than just enough. Faith is not tested in the declaration, it's tested in the discipline. What you do daily proves what you truly believe. Talk is cheap, but consistency is evidence. Faith means showing up even when no one claps. It means building when the results are invisible. Trusting that the roots are growing even if the fruit hasn't shown up yet. There will be days when it feels like nothing is working. When doubt knocks loud on your door, when fear tries to hijack your mind. But those are the moments faith becomes real. When you press forward, not because it's easy, but because something in you knows you were created for more. That knowing, that fire, is the seed of every breakthrough you've ever dreamed about. You don't need the approval of others to activate your faith. You don't need a cheerleading squad or a perfect background or a long resume. You just need a decision to trust what's inside you more than what's around you, to move in alignment with your purpose, not the opinions of the crowd. When you have faith, you stop needing guarantees. You stop waiting for certainty. You shift from asking, what if it doesn't work, to declaring, what if it does? And that shift opens doors fear would have kept locked. Faith is not the absence of fear. It's the refusal to be controlled by it. Fear may speak, but faith decides who gets the final say. Fear will tell you to wait, to shrink, to settle. But faith tells you to rise, to build, to speak, to take territory. Faith is aggressive. It doesn't beg for permission. It moves like the outcome is already settled. It speaks like the answer is already yes. It carries itself with the authority of someone who knows the promise is real, even if it hasn't shown up yet. That kind of faith creates momentum the world can't ignore. When you act in faith, the universe responds. People show up, resources arrive, opportunities appear, not by accident, but by alignment. Your energy shifts when your belief becomes unshakable. You become magnetic, not just to success, but to the kind of success that's in harmony with your purpose. People feel it. They may not understand it, but they recognize it. Faith-driven people move differently. They don't flinch at resistance. They don't panic in the waiting, because they know that what's on the other side of obedience is always greater than what they left behind. Every person you admire, every success story you've studied, every great leader you've respected, none of them got there without faith. They all had to believe before they achieved. They had to take a step before they had proof. They had to keep going when nothing around them said it was working. Faith is what sustained them, and it will sustain you, but it must be more than internal. It has to be activated through action, through risk, through consistency. The kind that doesn't stop when it gets hard, but leans in because it knows what's coming is worth it. You were never called to live small, think small, or play safe. The vision you have didn't come to you by accident. It was entrusted to you. And the way you honor that vision is by having the faith to move toward it every single day, no matter how far away it feels. Faith says, I'm not waiting for life to give me permission. I already have the authority to create what I see. And once you start moving like that, things begin to shift. Not because life got easier, but because your belief got stronger.